have you ever worked out how your kind of the value of your hourly rate and how much that takes out, you know, the process of recruitment and the process of onboarding everyone takes, you know, how much it costs you because of your, you know, how much you charge your time for?
Huge amount of my time, a huge amount of my time. So given that my responsibility as the finance director and business owner is to oversee all of that side of the business, even me taking, you know, a day, 2 days, well, I suppose it's probably more likely a week by the time you've added up, sifting through CVs, doing telephone interviews, in-person interviews, getting out offer letters, drawing up contracts, onboarding somebody and doing their induction. That's a huge chunk of my time. So, you know, in the thousands. Yeah, honestly, and that doesn't matter whether that's an admin junior coming in at 15,000–16,000 pound a year, or a senior engineer coming in at, you know, the top end of, you know, 50,000–60,000 pound a year.
So having seen, you know, the buck stops with you, there isn't anyone internally that's doing that recruitment kind of sort of administration process for you, so that you're, you know, the contacting, the sifting through CVs, the talking to people, the ascertaining whether they're the right fit or not. What bits of the role would you like to kind of go, actually, I'm going to outsource all of that and save myself a whole heap of time, and then just get presented with people who are relevant and who are right for the particular roles that you're recruiting for?
I think if we were talking 15 years ago, I would have been quite happy to say, I don't know how to put a job description together. This is kind of what I'm looking for, but I'm not entirely sure whether that fits with the job market. So I guess 15 years ago, Prosperon networks would have gone, this is what I need. I need a salesperson, I need a technical person, I need an admin person. Go and find me these people. And then it would have been nice just to say, you know, for you to say, here you go, here's a bunch of people to pick through. Just make sure that you match with them personality wise, and whether you want to work with them and they want to work with you. That's a huge cost saving to me. But and the same kind of principle applies now, except that it would be nice to have, I think the job description bit's fine. It would be nice to say, here's a job description. You go out, find that person, you filter that down, because you know you have a relationship with me. You know me well enough to know what kind of person I'm looking to employ at Prosperon, how they're going to fit into my business. So you're going to know which personality traits are going to fit with mine before I've met them. So it would be nice to have, you know, that 160 odd people that apply for an admin junior role, for you guys to filter through that and say, do you know what, I've narrowed that down to 4 or 5. Because I know these people, their jobs match your job description, what they can do matches your job description, their salary expectations are the same, and they're going to fit in with your business.
Okay. And is it more on the volume end, or are you still thinking that might be useful for those? I guess it's the hunting, isn't it? It's the going through the volume that's taking you time, and the hunting the candidates that don't want to talk to you because they, you know, they're busy and they don't even want to apply for an advert. So at your top end, your experience level people, it's going out and finding those people and talking to them. And at the lower end, it's dealing with the inordinate amount of people. And believe me, now more than ever, I reckon you're looking at 4 times, if not 5 or 6 times the amount of people that you would have ever have got for an admin role. I think, you know, we put a temporary part-time finance admin rollout, and I think we got about 60 responses. And this was like, you know, it was only for a few months. It wasn't even a permanent role. So, and that normally we'd have probably, I don't know, 10 to 20 responses. So you're looking at so much more volume. And, you know, some roles that are kind of, you know, your 15 to 16K admin roles, hundreds of people will apply for those roles, and some who are really way more experienced than you'll ever need. But because of the market at the moment, and, you know, there's been so much redundancy, so many people are looking for work, particularly certain industries that have imploded because of COVID. So, you know, it's interesting how the market's working. So from your point of view, it would be, you know, a kind of service that maybe you can quantify value wise, that maybe has a cost on it, that, I don't know, it's a set amount of money, and you then know that for that set amount of money you can get your advertising done, you can get your volume candidates come to someone else, so you don't have to worry about hundreds of people knowing that Prosperon hasn't got back to them maybe for a few days, because you're doing, you know, your team are doing their day jobs. They're not sat there, you know, being able to sift through CVs, and then you're presented with a list of a long list for yourselves then to go through, because actually at that level you wouldn't necessarily need us to go, you know, because you know your business so well and you've got expertise in recruitment and HR, you don't necessarily need us to do that piece for those particular roles, but you might need that on the higher level where you're hunting, where you're going out and we're hunting people and we're having to convince them that Prosperon Networks is a brilliant place to work. So would that be fair in my kind of analysis of where you are?
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. But then I think a lot of business owners, you know, ourselves included, is that I've had to take a step back. So I'm trying to run a business now, so I've had to take that step back and say, I've got my management here, they're going out, they're looking at, you know, what candidates will be suitable in their departments, but actually they haven't got the necessary skills to do interviews. So then that kind of then shifts onto, right, now I've got to do training with a whole management tier of people to show them how to do telephone interviews, in-person interviews, appraisals, all that kind of thing. So again, that if that added service where we could kind of say, you go and find this person, but if you're happy to do, you know, for individual roles and departments, because everybody's skills level is going to be different within my business. So for, say, a sales role, can you go and find this person? Can you do the first stage telephone interview? Because we do still get a lot of people that would apply for a full-time role. And during that conversation, you'd have, is it okay if I do this part-time? Is it okay if I do this ad hoc? And I'm not disputing that's a good or a bad thing, but I think as working with you, Helen, and your ability to get to know me as a business owner, there's potential there also when you're having a conversation with somebody, and when you're looking at somebody's CV, you could come across somebody who's an absolutely perfect fit for my business. I might be recruiting for a full-time role. You're looking at somebody who's after a part-time position, but they're a perfect match for us. So that's an opportunity to come forward and say, this person's an absolutely perfect fit for you. You haven't found a full-time role, give this person a try. So that's where I see the added value of what you can offer is your business insight and your knowledge of the person that you're dealing with.
Yeah, and I do think from, you know, I'm an SME and I run my own business and I have people who work for me. So, you know, I do get it. I get the pain of it and how much time it takes and how much that costs you. And, you know, we're all as business owners very good at owning responsibility for everything. But actually, the real skill is being able to delegate the right things out to the right experts. And, you know, like, you know, I was talking to you earlier about video editing. It's like, you know, I haven't got a flaming clue about video editing. It's like, you know, I'm not an expert in it, so I outsource it. You know, and I outsource my accounts, and, you know, I have someone who's, you know, I sat there today and thought I should really be writing some job adverts, and I thought, no, I shouldn't, because that's not what I should be paid to do. So, you know, Mel, who works for me, is doing the job adverts. She's perfectly capable of doing those things. So I think from our point of view, we understand small businesses really well, and we're not here to be painful for everyone and to, you know, we're here to offer a service that's valuable. So the reason for this you know, video with you, Kathie, and also for us to kind of take out to the general market in Worthing is to say, you know, or, you know, wider into Sussex, because we deal with businesses across Sussex, is to say we understand small and medium-sized businesses, and, you know, what can we do to help? And, you know, you've just given me some great examples of things that you find painful in your business from a recruitment point of view. And we can help with those things, but not from a traditional agency perspective, from a almost like having an internal recruiter that comes in, understands your business, but you're not paying them a salary to sit there and wait for jobs to come in. You're just paying us when there is a need in an appropriate way for whatever that is, whether it's a volume resource or whether it's headhunting the right people to kind of who are in key roles in your company. And we do both ends of the spectrum, but specifically for small and medium-sized enterprises across Sussex. So, you know, so have you got anything else that you'd like to say? Or, you know, you've been brilliant, and it's really great to have a really good kind of case study of how you do it and what challenges you have, so that, which I'm sure other people will resonate with. Have you got anything else to add?
I guess a lot of people in my position as a small medium business are always reluctant to approach recruitment agencies unless they absolutely have to, because they think it's an expensive thing to do. That, you know, why would I want to pay a percentage of this person's salary for you? Because that's, I could find that person myself. But I think moving forward, I think the times are changing on that. It's, for me, it's all about the relationship that I have with you. Because I think if you have that element of trust, and you have a relationship with somebody who has your best interests at heart and wants to work with you as a business and help you grow, then that kind of cost bit of it is kind of just null and void then, isn't it? Because you kind of think, well, I'm investing in you, Helen, and your business, because I know that you're going to find me somebody. The onboarding process is going to be a lot quicker. You're saving me the time of having to find this person and do all of the paperwork, and actually the other huge bit that takes up a lot of my time is then getting back to all the candidates that I don't want to speak to, because, you know, I've got 159 people that I've rejected at the end of the day, and they need to know why, or at least to be thanked for applying to me as a business owner in the first place and considering us as an option for their career. So the amount of time saving you're giving me as a business owner is huge. And I think all I would say to people who are kind of sitting on the fence as to whether to use a recruitment agency or not is to just calculate how much of your time. I think it's fair to say that in most job roles, it's going to take you at least one working week, 5 days, to write a good job description, get that out there, filter through CVs, telephone interviews, in-person interviews, write to people, do that whole process. So how much is this costing me as a business? How much am I paying myself a year? Therefore, what's my hourly rate? How much am I saving by doing it? It's probably about the same, actually. And this is a week that I could be doing other things. I could be income generating myself, or I could be doing something better. And I don't need to do it because it's not my area of expertise.
And that is a really, really good point. And I think, you know, from our point of view, we're not a traditional recruitment agency. We are all about, you know, my passion is, I just love getting to know people and getting to know their businesses and getting to know about you and, you know, what the challenges are. And, you know, half the pleasure for me is the variety of the businesses that I deal with, and, you know, how they've coped with challenging situations and how that works for them. And then what ends up happening is, you know, I meet someone, you know, a candidate who's looking for work, and I suddenly think, oh my God, they'd be brilliant for that business. And whether you're looking or not at that particular time, it just means that we've always got your interest, your best interest from a people perspective in mind, so that, you know, so that from a small business perspective, you have the ability to build out talent in areas, so that you might be looking for a sales guy in the future. And if I know about your sales roles and how they work and what you're looking for, I may already have several people in mind that you can just tap into, therefore cutting the time in your process right down. You lock into talent that would never apply to an advert because they'll quite possibly be in other roles. So, you know, that's what I love about what I do. It's because we then become part of your growth plan, because we're contributing to it, but only when it's appropriate and only when you want us to. So, but in the back of my mind all the time, I'm thinking, oh, that person would be great for Prosperon, or that person would be great for someone else. So it, you know, it's what I love doing. And, you know, and I can, you know, I can see that we can help, you know, many other SMEs, but it's all about perceiving what we do as valuable, and that's what you've just brilliantly said, that, you know, think about your time versus the money you spend. And that's what I have to do all the time in other things that I have in my business. You know, I'm recruiting for other companies, but I need to be in, and I'm always involved. So it's not like I take on your work and then go, I'll just farm it to somebody else. With the recruitment, I farm my business things to other people so that I have time to do the bit that you're instructing us on. So thank you, Kathie. Is there anything else that you think is important for people to know, or that you'd like to say?
Something that I'm just picking up on something you just said there, actually, about, you know, you coming across candidates that, you know, have left, you know, employer A over here, that you think, oh, this person will be a good fit for Prosperon. I think it's important as a business owner, especially in the current market, that if you do come across people that you think, oh, this person would be really good fit for Prosperon, that you should be reaching out to business owners and saying, this person, because you know me well enough to say, this person would be perfect for you, do you want to have a look at them? Even if you know that I'm not recruiting, because I might be in 6 weeks, 2 months down the line, or whatever that is. So that's kind of then taking all of that pain and stress away from me completely, because I might have somebody on the same day who says, do you know what, I'm moving on, I want to leave. And I've automatically then got, you know, a funnel through your contacts to say, well, I know that Helen knows what I'm looking for all the time. I don't need to go out and do, you know, any of this, having to faff around getting things online, and because that's a time consuming thing.
And also, you know, I think a lot of people, there's a lot of very cost effective advertising out there at the moment, and there's deals to be had, but mostly that advertising is passive. So you will throw an advert out and hope it sticks. And believe me, I'm going through the same process with a client who's using us at the moment for a very, very difficult role to fill. But if we're not doing absolutely everything to uncover every turn over every stone that's out there looking for work, or potentially looking for work, or even skilled in that market, you know, we've put out an advert for him, you know, that he wanted to do, to also advertise his business, because we do that as well. And, you know, there has been very little interest, because it's a passive way of marketing. You know, you will get response, particularly if you put an admin role out, you'll get hundreds, but that isn't necessarily going to give you the right person. Whereas if you kind of do many things in combination, so you might want to do the advertising piece, but you might also want to engage with someone like myself to make sure that you get the best person for the role, even when there's hundreds of people looking in the market, because actually that makes it more difficult, because you're not just going after people who might be interested in a smaller pool. You're having to sift through many, many more in order to get to the one. You know, and with more skilled roles, what we're finding is that people are very reticent to move. So they are not even looking at adverts, because they're like, I'm just going to stay put. It's a volatile market. So actually in the more key, very skilled roles, it's harder again to find people and persuade them to move. So, you know, yes, people will find, you know, you can chuck a job advert out and find someone, but think about the time it takes you to go through all of that. And also your employer branding, when you're not getting back to candidates and you're not getting back to them and saying, you know, thanks, but no thanks, they know who you are, and they're going to tell 10 people that company didn't get back to them, and they'd spent all that time filling out an application form and sending a CV, all their time that, you know, they could have been spending connecting with other people for a job role. So it's thinking about the candidate perception and your employer branding at the same time. So, you know, if you have that internal resource, great, but a lot of small business owners don't. The buck stops with them, like with you, Kathie. You know, it's like, you know, you are the expert in people, that's what you do, and you wear that hat, many hats, many times a day, but that hat is a big one, because you're also managing your internal people and keeping them, you know, retaining your talent in your company to make sure they stay, and are developed and, you know, don't move on. And that's a piece of work that we also do with small business owners, to make sure that once those people are in, they stay, and they, you know, for their lifespan of when they should be staying, because there's always a, you know, an end date, isn't there? There's always an end date for someone. Some people stay forever, but as you said, sometimes they don't, and they move on and they want to develop their careers. And some small businesses can't give them people the development they need because you're just not big enough, and that's the way that it is. So it's making sure that anyone that stays with you goes through and has a really good experience right the way through. So,
oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. And it's equally as important, I think, to invest when you're investing in somebody, because that's what it is. It's an investment in somebody that you're bringing into your business, and you have to make sure that on day one they're the right fit for your business. Because if they're not, you're surrounded by other people that you've been working alongside for 5 or 6 years, and you know what it's like. One person coming in and upsetting all of that creates such an atmosphere, and you could potentially lose other good staff because of one bad recruitment mistake. So you need to kind of get it right.
Yeah, you do. And I think, you know, there's been lots of incidents that I've seen where things have gone wrong, and it's people, you know, they're not products that come off a conveyor belt, unfortunately. You know, you can't kind of send them back to the repair shop when it all goes wrong. You know, they're human, and they have human things going on all around them, and sometimes it's not even you as a company that goes wrong for them. It's something completely outside of that goes wrong for them. And you can't control every situation, but it's having a process and something that works as seamlessly as possible, with flexibility in it, so that, you know, like, you're brilliant at that, Kathie, at the flexibility around people's situations and what's going on for them. And, you know, you're very nurturing as a culture.